On this episode of the Heat Check, we've got a couple of special guests, Andy Liu and Sam Esfandiari from the Warriors Light Years podcast, to help us break down a very hot start, as well as our viral moment that took the Bay and the NBA by storm. Welcome to the show, Esfandiari, the host of the Light Years podcast, maybe the most arrogant name in the NBA podcast realm. You can listen to their podcast anywhere, everywhere podcasts can be found. They are longtime friends of the show. Welcome, guys. It's been a couple of days in the making. Hard to get you guys on the horn.
It feels good to be right. I'll say that. It feels good to be right. It feels good to be light years ahead, so to speak, even. The Warriors feel like we're back in 14-15. So Sam and I are at our peak.
Trista, have the mentions calmed down since 9-1?
No. People are now finding other videos that have nothing to do with the Warriors. That's just 9-1 clown face emoji. Now, smoking that. I didn't even. Here's just very quickly before we get into it. Like, I didn't know what smoking on that insert item pack was. Did you guys know what that was?
Yeah.
I had no idea. It was like smoking on that Trysta Krick pack. Emoji Trysta is the blunt face is now a shirt and a meme and a thing.
So my favorite was the one who quote tweeted you with Aaron Rodgers stretching out. That would give me a good laugh.
There was some good ones. So, from both of you guys' perspective, let's recap how we got here. You called it yesterday the most viral moment in the NBA over the last week, Sam.
That I did.
Yep.
So I think it's. Well, I think so. When Andy said they should start 9-1, not to throw him under the bus, but I was like, come on, man. That was a little. That's a little like pie in the sky.
The tweet was, even without Clay, the Warriors not could start 9-1. The Warriors should start 9-1 in their first 10 games.
So you made a TikTok out of it, and it was funny. Objectively, we got a good laugh out of it. But then the Warriors start winning, and it starts hitting us. It's like, oh, this is perfect. And as you start looking at the schedule, you're like, there's really only one game in here that might even be tricky. They might actually get to 9-1. And as it picked up steam, I just think Warrior fans are so excited that they are back.
Yes.
And you were just the perfect kind of launching point for jokes right there. You called your shot. It's reasonable to assume a team won't start 9-1, any team. But then when it happened, it's prime trolling material.
Warriors fans waited 2+ seasons for that. And it's like, look, the finals isn't coming up anytime soon. There's nothing really to go all out and celebrate. But this was Warriors fans were going crazy last season when Kelly Oubre would take a bad shot. Like after 5 years of going to the finals, somebody had to be the scapegoat. And when I threw out a tweet about them because of the homer that I am, and you got back at it, it was perfect. It was like, all right, well, Trista's the villain. This is easy. The Warriors fans are used to going at your Nick Wrights of the world, Kendrick Perkins, because they're not fans of Steph necessarily, and so this was a good one. I mean, this was it was like Warriors fans doing therapy, except in Trista's mentions. It was perfect.
It was, and you know what was weird? It was like it went. I knew that we were on to something. Because it was really designed to be an inside joke, like between me and you two. Like if it wasn't you who tweeted that, I probably wouldn't have even paid it any attention other than like an LOL. Like to make a video about it was really just to kind of like be a kind of a ha-ha moment between me and you two. And then it went viral even in August. It was like hundreds of thousands of views on Twitter and TikTok, which never normally really happens. Like getting traction on Twitter in a video is really. So I was like, oh, if this ends up happening, this is going to be obviously a big deal. So did you think you guys would actually go 9-1, Andy?
I thought the Warriors. Well, I tweeted that actually before the preseason, so I said that tongue in cheek because the schedule was objectively not good, not hard.
A
Like
lot of
Sam and I had
OKC in
talked.
there.
Yeah, it was Sam and I looked at that and we're just like it looked like the end of last season when the Warriors went 15-5. So I said it tongue in cheek. If you asked me to speak the truth, I probably would have said like 7-3. But you watch the preseason, and that's when I was like, ooh. 9-1 is realistic, and you remember the Warriors when Kerr first became the coach. Their preseason they looked incredible. The way they were passing and defending, that's what they look right now. And I remember thinking in the preseason, like, damn, some people think preseason doesn't matter, but I might be a genius now.
You guys are both in the Bay, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
How big did it actually get in the Bay?
Pretty big. I was getting texts from
Right.
friends who don't even listen to my show, by the way.
Right.
Shout out to my college buddies who give me no respect. And they're like, oh, wow, your buddy. I was like, yes, my co-host. And that they were seeing it. They were seeing it across just every channel. Obviously, you were on 95.7, the game out here. It became the talking point of everything around Monday night's game when they were going for 9-1.
Yeah. And I assure you that Steph knew about it, which is the funny part because Steph's buddy
He knew about it. He did.
Yeah, he kept. Well, he did because his buddy kept tweeting about it, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, they were all tweeting the Andy Lou game.
Yeah, so I thought
they were not.
Yeah, so that's what makes it's a whole thing. Usually we know how popular it is if it goes cross platform, because Twitter's Twitter and we have a good following, but if it goes across IG and all of this, then it becomes
House of Highlights stuff like that. Yeah,
then it becomes larger. But I like to think that Steph dropped 50 on what is it now, Monday night, because he saw the tweet and he was ready. He was ready to help out Warriors fans. That's who Steph is. He's man of the people.
He said, "Andy Lou's been my day one fan. I'm doing it for him."
And honestly, they went down big in the first half, and I actually bet on the Warriors to cover 3 in that Monday night game because if by golly I'm wrong, I might as well make some money, and if I
Classic
lose
hedge.
money, then the narrative is. Technically, I would have been still wrong, but on a technicality, I would 9-1 would not be. So I felt like it kind of gave everyone something to look forward to in Game 10. And then when Steph went nuclear, it did feel personal. And there was people on TikTok being like, "No way, Steph is even paying attention to this. This is a total coincidence. Like you're delusional if you think that this TikTok had anything to do with this performance." So. For everyone on social slandering me, you do believe that it had an impact? Is that what you're saying?
I would bet a lot of money that he saw your video before the game because I feel like it started picking up traction. Friday when they went 8-1, like when it was like, oh,
Queen, we're coming.
Next game's the game. Yeah, exactly. That I feel like over the weekend it got a bunch of noise, and as we know, NBA players. Are aware of what's going on online. If it reaches are they aware if some random person tweets like, "Wow, Steph shooting poorly, 2 retweets, 4 likes"? No. But when something starts gaining a bunch of steam and you start seeing it on Instagram, on TikTok, on across all these things, they're aware.
Getting reshared on new accounts, like
exactly
accounts or whatever, people in the mentions for you and that. And I just go ahead.
I was going to say, I just like to believe Steve Kerr showed that TikTok before the season started and it's like, all right, guys, we got to start 9-1 now. We got to do it for Andy.
I caddied for Steve Kerr. So that's before I even was in media.
Oh, wow.
So that would be he wasn't even a coach. He was working for TNT. I was just trying to get into the media game. So that would actually be tremendous. I had a Niners wide receivers coach who I went to college with, Matt Harper, who was a DB for Oregon. And he literally texted me the day of the game, and he was like, "You're trending in the Bay right now."
When Steve was golfing, did he make sure to spread the joy? Was he letting other people putt for him as well, like his offensive system? Was that his thing?
He's a different guy on the golf course.
Yeah.
His beard is grown out. He's much more profanity laden.
Love that.
Much more loose and free. He told me a story about how MJ, because I asked if MJ had any pregame routines, and he's like, "You really want to know?" And I was like, yes, I really want to know. He's like, he took a gigantic shit before every single game. And I was like, that can't be real. And he's like, no, literally, Phil would be giving us pregame in the locker room. MJ would be in the bathroom, and we would hear the flush. He'd be like, did you get all that, MJ? I was like, this cannot be a real story. Like, so, yeah, he was wild. He was
I,
wild.
I will say when I was playing high school hoops, like the professional athlete that I am, we would do a pregame shits ritual. So me and MJ are kind of the same. We're the same dude.
I like that about
Also,
you.
both undefeated in the NBA Finals.
There you go.
Both undefeated. So now that we're here, obviously the Warriors are hot like fish grease, and now it actually has fueled the delusions of the fan base even more, right? Like they believe, and 95.7 the game believes, this team is going to go to the finals. Where do you think is a realistic possibility for this team? Because you really haven't played anyone yet.
Ooh, this is for Sam. This is for
Okay,
Sam.
I'll start. So before the season started, I said they would be somewhere in that 3 to 5 range. I optimistically said they could be the 3 seed, and they felt like if Clay came back, they're a player away from being incredibly dangerous and getting to the finals. I thought they had a really good team, but it's a lot of young players who just kind of haven't been there before, next to Steph, Draymond, and Iguodala. With that said, you look at the rest of the West, it's not that good in general. So I'm not even sure if the Warriors need to add another player as much as like they just need Klay Thompson back and healthy. I think at minimum they're in the mix. They're not going to win 90% of their games because that would set another NBA record. But I do think this team will continue winning a ton of games because they play such a smart and efficient style of basketball on both ends of the floor. And just 50% of the league plays just terrible ball, right? Like there's just a lot of wins to be had. In some ways, they feel like those late Spurs teams, like the ones where Timmy and Manu and Tony were older, but like it didn't matter who they threw out next to them. They were going to win 60 games no matter what. I don't know if the Warriors get to 60, but I definitely feel pretty confident they're going to get like well above 50 and just be kind of that machine who rolls through wins.
You agree, Andy? That's all.
I for some reason I thought Sam would say, because he's been saying all preseason that the Warriors need another piece outside of Clay as well, and it's interesting to see that he's off of that a little bit because I think the Western Conference isn't as good as it has been. You look at the Clippers; they've got without Kawhi, Denver out, not LeBron. The Lakers are, I don't know what they are, and those are kind of the 3 teams.
They got the perfect player to slow down LeBron and Russell Westbrook. So.
Certainly, it's not going to be Andrew Wiggins, so it's Russ, and so I think it's good timing for the Warriors, and they have ammo at the trade deadline if they do need to pick someone up. And Steph and Draymond go to Jay Lakeup and say, "Hey, you need to spend this money, or you need to make this trade." They still have that in their back pocket. So I think Western Conference Finals is realistic. NBA Finals, you never know what happens, but Western Conference Finals, I think, is their kind of mid-tier projection right now. It would make sense.
Who do you think? So the thing that I didn't see coming was Andre Iguodala having so much gas in the tank. Did anybody else see that? Was he just playing possum in Miami?
I thought he would help them, but I was thinking 12 to 15 minutes off the bench to kind of stabilize the second unit. He's playing like it's 2015.
Yep.
He's playing he's been the third best player on the team. He hasn't been the third best scorer, but objectively, when he's on the floor, winning things happen. Same way it does with Draymond. He's been phenomenal. I don't think anyone saw it coming at this level. I think everyone was just hopeful he would, he'd help you out. There's some nostalgia there, helps with the locker room, help the younger guys, that sort of the type of stuff you'd expect from someone who's turning 38 this season.
Yeah, we thought he was going to be a coach. Yeah, we thought he was going to be a coach. Turns out he was just chilling last couple seasons, waiting in the weeds, and now he's back to who he was. It's ridiculous.
I heard he wouldn't even get a real place in Miami. He just rented an apartment month to month right next to the arena because he was so was not feeling a long-term relationship commitment.
before the season, they had Iguodala. It was always funny, classic Andre, where he told media that the decision was between Brooklyn, the Lakers, and the Warriors. And Sam and I did a pod, and we're just like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's no chance he's going to Brooklyn or LA. No chance.
Yeah, he only wanted to go back to Golden State, it felt like. And then Jordan Poole. Like, Jordan Poole has a very AAU style of play, like very loose with the handle. His arm extends way out when he's crossing over. He's just wild. But somehow, some way, averaging close to, 18 points a game, basically what he was in the last 10, 15 games of last year. Is he actually the real deal? Will he be this good when Klay comes back, or is he actually just like a slightly better version of like Kyle Kuzma?
Wow.
I think he's good. I'm not sure how good. There's days I watch him where I'm like, wow, he's like the second coming of CJ McCollum, which is like a comp I like to make because they're kind of the same size. They kind of have a similar style. CJ's just far more polished.
Yeah.
And then there's other days where it's like, slow down, buddy. What are you doing? Everything's moving 5,000 miles per hour for him. And I think that's just the nature of being a young player. So it's like, I ebb and flow between like, is this guy just like a heat check 6-man type of guy, or is he going to be
Like
a long-term starter? Yeah, exactly. Or does he have a
Jamal Crawford?
Yeah.
I will say this though, he is deceptively young given 3 years in the league. I think he just turned 22. He's
Deceptively young. That's a new one.
Yeah, I don't actually think that's proper English.
Wow.
Anyway, there's upside there. It's just it's just one of those things. We'll see where it goes.
They'll need him, but he might be a couple years away from like truly helping in a Western Conference Finals or an NBA Finals game. But that's why Klay's coming back, and that's why he's most likely going to function as 6-man and not close games when it comes down to it.
I will say one thing I like about Poole, and I know the Warriors players like about him, is like he's definitely not afraid. He's pretty cocky. And there's value in that. You saw it like opening night against the Lakers. You gotta be pretty confident to just pull up from 28 in a tie game, LeBron James and your girl, and like Steph open to your left side. Like a normal player would be like, yeah, I'm gonna give the ball to Steph Curry right now. So I like that. I think that bodes well for him long term.
Speaking of which, we didn't talk about this, but like the new name of the podcast is Heat Check, and because I couldn't take this league with me. And I thought it was so ironic and funny that the broadcasters all night long were like, Steph Curry, heat check, third heat check. They literally said it like 15 times during the broadcast. And I was just like, these motherfuckers, I tell you what, this is fitting. So I don't get it. Like, I really, the defense is like it was kind of 10, 15 games at the end of last season. Rebounding's way up. They're moving differently without the ball. Like, they're almost back to that strength in numbers year. Like, they didn't add really any pieces. They lost pieces. Yes, losing Oubre and Bays was actually a benefit. Like, I don't understand how the team is functioning so much differently than they were last year.
Oh, I have a thought around this. I think Steve Kerr won the battle. I think Steve Kerr won the war against Lightyear's podcast. I think the fact that he kept saying we're not gonna go ISO ball, we're not gonna go pick and roll ball, we're not gonna do what Luka and Harden does. We're gonna keep playing my system. I think the fact that and Steph wants to do that too. Let's be very clear. I think the fact. So does Draymond, and Draymond has to. Steph could play any system. I think because of that, guys like Damian Lee, guys like Juan Toscano-Anderson, and then you've got guys coming in like Nemanja Bjelica, who's been better than we thought because he's smart, get better in this system instead of doing like, can you imagine? And Gary Payton too, right? It's a perfect fit, and the fact that they've played in this system for years, even when they were losing, makes it easier. And like, can you imagine if Juan Toscano-Anderson was standing in the corner shooting threes only, like instead of actually setting screens and cutting and all of that? So I think Steve was right in that he did not need to make the adjustment because the team didn't have the upside anyway to win a title. And now the entire team has been in the system for 3-4 years, and Damian Lee looks incredible. He's averaging he's the exact same player that Joe Harris is right now, getting paid $3 million a season. And it's like, that's stuff that, I mean, that's true.
Too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sam could play better defense than Joe Harris. But yeah, I mean
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But and to tie into it, I think the overarching thing I've seen is just like, everyone likes to say, "Oh wow, the Warriors so much shooting," or like when they were really good, like so much length and the switching defense. It's like kind of the only thing they really need is high IQ players.
Yeah.
And they basically, it's
Yep.
like Kelly Oubre is more talented
They
than
got
Juan
rid of the
Toscano.
low IQ players.
Yeah. Like Oubre's got more raw talent than Juan Toscano Anderson. But Oubre is not much for passing the ball. Little, he wants the ball, he wants to score. Just by virtue of like putting players who are willing to pass the ball, they play more like the Warriors.
Yeah, it's interesting because there were a lot of narratives, you guys and me both, because Steve was making some very questionable decisions last year, being like, we're not chasing wins, we don't really care that much about that. Like, is Steve Kerr actually as great X's and O's as we've always given him credit for? And it feels like this year you can see that the seeds that he's planted are turning into like bearing fruit, where you can say, okay, I get what he's doing. I get how he's different than the rest of the coaches in the league. You watch like Portland with Scott Brooks running the offense, which is just absolutely gross. Too many dribble handoffs, no motion. Feels like the Warriors, maybe the Heat, and maybe the Suns. Couple of teams that are playing that beautiful game style of offense, and basically everyone else is just standing around hoping for one guy to like play ISO and get a bucket.
And the Warriors added coaches. I mean, they added Kenny Atkinson, and they added guys that Steve knew that he needed because he wasn't going to be able to do this himself. I mean, they've done so many different things. So they ran a box and one against Trae Young the other game. I don't think Steve last year does that. I think Sam coined him Steve 2.0. He feels like a brand new fucking person this season. He's been incredible.
I would love to know, the introspection that went into his off season, because he knew he wasn't obviously getting it done. A couple of years of failure can make you look inside to yourself.
More golfing, maybe.
Yeah, more golfing, more cigars and alcohol. Are Warriors fans ready to admit that Kuminga and Moody might actually not contribute truthfully in any meaningful way to like 2030?
Ooh.
I don't actually think Warrior fans expect them to. I think that there's always been the assumption that like those young guys aren't really going to play that much.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because it's almost like baseball, where it's like, how like you get a top prospect in baseball, but they go sit in the minor leagues for a couple of years till they come up. You don't really see that in the NBA. You get a good player, you let them play and they let them figure it out. Like we watched Anthony Edwards last night, like looks phenomenal. Probably wouldn't look this phenomenal if the Wolves didn't let him spend his whole rookie year just kind of figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm curious about. But I think the fan base in general is still like super high on those guys being useful at some point. It's just one of those things where it's like they have a good team now. These players are more for 2025, not 2021. And how do you reconcile those two things?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is the NBA has a G League. I mean, I bring this up every podcast. The Niners, the NFL doesn't have one. Trey Lance should be playing football 8 weeks ago, and he has yet to play a real game, one game, and he can't develop. I mean, Justin Fields he's gotten better. And so with Kuminga, Wiseman, and Moody, it's thank goodness Santa Cruz is there because they can just play there until they're needed. But Steve being Steve, he also puts Kuminga in randomly. Like he put Kuminga in against the Hawks in the middle of that first half for like 3 minutes because he felt like it. Because he was like, all right, we'll just throw him in.
Change the energy.
Yeah, Steve being Steve. So he'll get some play, but yeah, those guys are most likely in Santa Cruz all season.
I talked to the 95.7 The Game guys, and they are very high on Wiseman. Like, I mean, extremely high on Wiseman. Like, they were like, you just wait. He can do so many things. And I'm like, I think really he just needs to roll to the basket and dunk. Like, I think he really just needs to be put into a little box. The box is for Wiseman to fit into. But they're like, basically, we're trying to bring some stats about how he had the best stats of any rookie, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro. So
Joe Lacob sent those, by the way.
Joe Lacob. So I don't know why there is so much hype still around Wiseman. What is your take on that? And like, why do people still continue to believe that Wiseman's going to be some integral piece to the Warriors 2021 finals run?
Well, they
Teams
think
running
he
24/7 propaganda. That's
they,
why.
they really, really, really do. I mean, because think about it. Every time people say, "Oh, just wait till Clay comes back," and Wiseman, and they put in the same sentence, and I'm sitting there like, "You, the fuck are we doing here?" They kind of need him. They kind of do. I mean, Looney's gotten better, but he's not. He's kind of cooked to physically, right? And who knows if he'll last a full season. So I think they kind of need him to be in that box, like you said, just protecting the rim and dunking. I mean, look, dunking and running the floor is easy. Defensively, it's going to be tough for him. But, I mean, they need him. They can't just have him play Santa Cruz. He's a 7'2 center, and they need a big. There's a reason why I think they should have gotten a vet center, but they didn't because I think they believe in him. I mean, it's obvious they believe in him.
Well, yeah, Joe Lacob loves himself some James Wiseman.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of need him to be good too. I mean, this LaMelo Ball stuff is I mean, the kid's ridiculous. They kind of need Wiseman to be not. I don't know what's the name out there. That's so big that Hasheem the Beat. Like they don't need him to be Hasheem the Beat out there, right? Like they need him to
Or
be
Marvin
a good basketball.
Bagley.
Yeah,
That's a better one right now.
What a mess! What a mess!
Yeah, considering who went after him. But I will say this: the last piece, which Andy didn't mention, Wiseman did have some incredible flash plays last year.
Yeah.
So you know how that goes. Like he is physically just like outlier, and like some of the plays he'd make, just it makes you think like, wow, when this guy gets more consistent, he can be amazing. So, and that's another aspect of it. It's like, now how long does it take to get consistent? I don't know. I'm a little more of a realist about it with young players. I don't think it's something that's going to happen in 6 months, but maybe.
What? So we've gotten a few Harden, Dame. You have multiple guards that are being severely affected by either the ball or the rule change or both. Why is this not affecting Steph at all?
This is my favorite topic of the NBA. Go ahead,
Really?
go ahead. This is because the fact that the NBA tried to use Steph as the poster child for foul baiting was BS from the beginning. And all Warriors fans would tell you that and know that because we watch every game and we get mad when Steph foul baits. We get angry because we're like, Steph, just hoop. You're not good at foul baiting. Like Dame and Harden are elite foul baiters. Like they're some of the best I've ever seen. So I think what they did was they predicated their game around that when Steph didn't. Steph tried to infuse that as part of the game, but he's so shitty at it that he never actually got good at it. So when now that he doesn't have to do it anymore, good. He's back to just being who he was before. I think deep down, Damon, Harden, and Trey will be fine. I think it's just going to be adjustment period because they're playing fraudulent basketball for so damn long.
But I mean, Dame is now shooting like 25% from three.
Yeah. Well,
Like they are bricking too. Like so, the ball seems to be affecting some people as well, but not.
aiming the
Steph.
ball. Like, what are we
I
doing?
I think the other thing is, so like it's not just the drawing of fouls. Like we all know, like Trae Young, like neck snap type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the fact that defenders are so kind of terrified to get up on guys because they will foul them, that had those guys shooting higher percentages. Like I think Trae's a good shooter. Trae's not Steph Curry, and he takes Steph Curry shots.
Neither
so now if a defender can get up on him without fear of fouling him, the bricks are going to look bad. Steph is the only player who can take those stupid shots and still make them in an efficient clip. And I think that's really where you're seeing it affected. It's not like the 3 extra free throw trips. It's like the defenders not having the fear of it. They can get up on them.
Right.
Yeah, and it really does accentuate how much better of a shooter Steph is than everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Which we tried to say that he's that much, because then we love Dame, but the Dame Steph comparisons where they were on the same level the last 2-3 years, where we didn't say anything because he's so likable, but come on. Like what? Interesting. We know, Portland. Yeah. We love Dame too, but like off the dribble, there's nobody like Steph. I mean, set shot. I mean, Clay might be better than Steph, set shot shooting, but just off the dribble, I mean, there's nobody. Not even KD is as good as Steph.
So just for the record, we now have a team that is 10-1. I need a record prediction for you and also, will Warriors fans and the Warriors team thank me and you if this team goes like 74-8?
No chance. No chance. No chance. Absolutely no. They just take. They take. They take. Not enough praise. I don't get enough love. You know what? I was thinking about this prediction. Wait, do we think they go 60-22? Like that would be like I kind of want to throw that out there, but I sound crazy again. But I could be a genius again. Like I don't
But
know.
I'm thinking we should coordinate this.
Yeah.
I am gonna say whatever you say, I'm gonna dispute again.
Yeah.
And this is us planning it out via interview. You should say the Warriors at this rate, the Warriors should go 73-9.
74-8. 74-8
would be the math. And I would say there's no shot, absolutely no possibility. Andy Lou smoking that crack again, smoking that triple pack again.
It's like WWE. Yeah,
Everybody knows that I'm the greatest mush like in the NBA, like in all bets. Like anything that I say will just the opposite. If I put it on TikTok, the opposite happens.
Yeah, that's
What do you think the realistic record is? I know you said 60 is a stretch, Sam. But they have a very weak schedule, especially in the first half. What do you think the ceiling is for this record? And the ceiling for their expectations, I guess, for where they finish in the playoffs.
At this point, I do think getting the 1 seed is realistic because just watching them play, as long as Steph is healthy, relatively, everyone's going to miss a couple games here and there. They should just roll wins. They have a formula that works. I think winning over 60 games is realistic. I'll hedge it and say I think they're going to probably win more like 55 or so. But I'm seeing nothing through these first 10 games that doesn't feel at least regular season sustainable the whole year through. Now in the playoffs, a lot of that really does depend on, is Clay back by the time the playoffs start? How good does he look? We think he'll be able to shoot the ball, but can he move defensively? Those sort of things. If Clay obviously is not back, then that dramatically lowers their ceiling. But we're kind of just assuming, he's going to come back around Christmas. And, hopefully around April, he'll have rolled into being a, the version of Clay we remember pre-injury or close enough to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because they've banked too many wins at this point to be 500 when Clay comes back. I mean, I guess it could happen, but a lot of people were thinking before the season, it's like, okay, kind of stay afloat till Clay comes back, then you get a turbo boost. But now it's like the Warriors are going to be 15, 17 games over 500, and then when Clay comes back, they're going to be even better. So, I mean, you could look at the Bucks kind of. They won 60 games and 56 games. I think the Warriors are right there, 56 to 60 games, first in the West. They've just won too many games at this point, unless Draymond or Steph gets hurt. And we saw Draymond last night. I mean, he's probably going to be out on Friday because he banged knees, and now he's hurt. And you can see that happen. But I mean, this team is on that path. The only question is, do they have enough top end talent when Clay comes back to win in the playoffs? But we'll wait. We'll do this again 3 months from now, and we'll wait to talk about that. For now, it's 60 wins.
Is this right now what you see? If they add nothing else, Clay is 100% or is close to 100% healthy when he's rolling. April comes, he's mobile. Is this a finals team?
Yes, I think without a doubt, because we've seen this be a finals team. I don't understand the hesitation where people say, well, they might not be good enough. They haven't played any real people. We've seen Steph, Clay, and Draymond win at the highest level, at the absolute highest level. And if they're healthy, they're essentially that good again. They're just smarter and older, and maybe a little bit slower, but they're just as good.
Yeah, and I would keep pointing this out. Who in the West who in the West is better than Steph, Clay, and Draymond at their peak? Now, a lot of that depends on what Clay comes back looking, but Utah, come on, the Lakers. I'm not gonna write them off because LeBron and AD, that's always dangerous.
About the Suns, you guys are feeling like the Suns are sort of a fraudulent flash in the pan team, or what?
No, they're a good team, but I
do think kind of fraudulent, but yeah.
I don't think they're fraudulent, but I'm also not I don't think they'd be overwhelming favorites against a healthy Warriors with Klay Thompson. At minimum, I'd say it's a good series. If Phoenix won, then so be it. But it wouldn't be like there's no chance that Phoenix would beat the Warriors in like less than 6 games in a series like that if both teams are fully healthy.
Well,
of course.
If they go to the finals, me and Andy need to get courtside tickets because we are hot start. Because who knows what kind of motivation. We never know how people get their motivation, but we know me and Andy provided a shitload of motivation.
That's what we do.
9-1, that's what we do. That's all the time that we have for this league. Actually, that's all the time that we have for the Heat Check podcast. I know I'm still in the rote memorization mode. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're gonna have to do this again as time goes on. And Andy, it's time for you to make another tweet prediction so that we can go viral once again as the season goes on. Maybe around the All-Star break, you could do that when Klay comes back. Sam, thanks for making time. Andy, thanks for making time. I know you guys are busy dudes, so we'll do it again sometime soon.
Cool. Appreciate it, Tristan.
All right, talk to you guys.